they pick out certain things. They're receptive. For example, we have a small band, what you might call a spectrum of light, of sound, of tactile sensation and so on, to which the human organism is sensitive. But we know that outside that small band, there is a huge range of vibrations to which we have built instruments that are sensitive. Things like cosmic rays, ultraviolet rays, gamma rays, hard X-rays, and so on. They're all outside the band of our spectrum. And obviously, there are things that are outside the range of our instruments. We may build new instruments someday which will evoke, bring into our consciousness other orders of vibration altogether, but yet, as yet, we don't know about them. So you could imagine, you see, the universe is a vast system of vibrations and has infinite possibilities. The ordinary, everyday consciousness that we have leaves out more than it takes in. The ordinary, everyday consciousness that we have leaves out more than it takes in. The ordinary, everyday consciousness that we have leaves out more than it takes in. The ordinary, everyday consciousness that we have leaves out more than it takes in. The ordinary, everyday consciousness that we have leaves out more than it takes in. The ordinary, everyday consciousness that we have leaves out more than it takes in.
I've gone for many a run or a walk listening to your Alan Watts music, which I think is like the best Alan Watts remixes available on the internet or in the world, and they're incredible because I love Watts.
Do you know who Akira the dog is?
Of course, he's amazing.
His name is Alan Watts, do you know?
The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. The same problem arises in medicine because the body is a very complexly interrelated organism. And if you look at the body in a superficial way, you may see there's something wrong with it. Here's chickenpox, and there's spots that itch. You might say, well, spots are there, cut them off. So you kill the bug. Well, then you find you've got a real problem. Because you have to introduce some bugs to kill the bug. It's like bringing rabbits into Australia. And that starts going all over the place and getting out of there. But then you think, well, now wait a minute. It wasn't the bugs in the blood. There are bugs all over the place. What was wrong with this person? That his blood system suddenly became vulnerable to those particular bugs. His resistance wasn't up. Therefore, what you should have given was not an antibiotic, but vitamins. Okay, so we're going to build up his resistance. But resistance to what? You may build up resistance to this and this and this class of bugs, but then there's another one that loves that situation. He comes right in. The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. See, we always look at the human being medically in bits and pieces. Because we have heart specialists, lung specialists, bone specialists, nerve specialists, and so on. And so on. And they each see the human being from their point of view. There are a few generalists, but they realize the human body is so complicated that no one mind can understand it. And furthermore, supposing we do succeed in healing all these people of their diseases, what do we then do about the population problem? I mean, we've stopped cholera, the black bubonic plague, we're getting the better of tuberculosis, we may fix cancer and heart disease. Then what will people die of? Well, then let's go on living. There'll be enormous quantities of it. Then we have to fix this birth thing. Pills for everybody. Then we find what are the effects, the side effects of those pills? What are the psychological effects upon men and women of not breeding children in the usual way? We don't know. 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 The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. So you see, there's something going on. This web may be looked at as pattern, and the world is basically patterning. What else do you do when you come to think of it? What else do you do when you come to think of it? When you eat, you are turning food into the pattern of your skeleton, your muscles, and your nervous system. That's a pattern. And you say, you see, basically, hooray for that pattern. That's a pattern. And you say, you see, basically, hooray for that pattern. But then you want other patterns. You like to look through a microscope and see the patterns that exist in the small world. And see the patterns. You like to look through a kaleidoscope or a teleidoscope and see the patterns. You like to have paintings around and see the patterns. You like to watch the water play and see the patterns. You want to watch the birds go, and the clouds, and all that. Fascinating patterns. And that really doesn't it seem to be the point? I mean, what do you do when you're very rich? Take some rascal of ancient times who became very rich by all sorts of skullduggery and warfare and so on. He got himself a suit of armor, a beautiful sword. And he had the armorer make the most intricate patterns, arabesques of inlaid gold on the steel. Why? Because it's, as they say among the Pennsylvania Dutch, it's for nice. It's a great thing to have all that jazz. And that's what we go for. That's a pattern. And you say, you see, basically, hooray for that pattern. That's a pattern. And you say, you see, basically, hooray for that pattern. But then you want other patterns. You like to look through a microscope and see the patterns that exist in the small world. And see the patterns. You like to look through a kaleidoscope or a teleidoscope and see the patterns. You like to have paintings around and see the patterns. You like to watch the water play and see the patterns. You want to watch the birds go and the clouds and all that. Fascinating patterns. Perfect. Now you may say, I need some help in this process, and therefore I am going to find someone else to help me. It may be a therapist. It may be a clergyman. It may be a guru. It may be any kind of person who teaches a technique of self-improvement. Now, how will you know whether this person is able to teach you? How can you judge, for example, whether a psychotherapist is effective or just a charlatan? How can you judge whether a guru is himself spiritually wise or merely a good chatterbox? Well, of course, you ask your friends, you ask his other students or patients, and they're all, of course, enthusiastic. You have to be enthusiastic when you bought something expensive. If you bought an automobile which turned out to be a lemon, it's very difficult to admit that it was a lemon and that you were fooled. And it's the same when you buy a religion or an expensive operation. But what people do not sufficiently realize is that when you pick an authority, whether it's a psychotherapeutic one or a religious one,